So here we are. It's just us. So I'm sitting here completely solo for this week's episode of Mirrorless Minutes. This is episode number 116. Totally all by myself. And it's funny because initially I was a little worried I wouldn't be able to talk through an entire episode by myself. And then I started to remember I tend to not stop talking quite a bit. So I think I can manage to work through about 25 or 30 minutes of showtime solo. Mike is away on business. If memory serves, I think he's in Arizona for the week. He manages this humongous conference for his work, literally hundreds of people. The logistics behind that, I was stressing out, organizing workshops for 10 or 15 people, hundreds of people. I don't even want to imagine what Mike's going through. So best wishes to Mike in Arizona, where the weather is probably a little bit better than it is here in Michigan. Definitely going to be able to answer some questions, Tim. Hopefully it's not too techy because, man, I'll tell you what, you guys seem to come up with questions that sometimes are just extremely difficult to answer. It's funny because people tend to look towards members of the visionary program like we have every single answer. And some of us probably have a lot of them, but sometimes you guys just come up with some doozies. It never fails. If I'm doing an event at a camera store, someone always comes up, hands me a camera and says, so how do I do this? And it might be a camera 2 generations ago. It might be the latest camera. It's hard to tell, but sometimes people just come up with the darndest things to ask. And it's always embarrassing if you don't have the answer right away. So Tim, hopefully quick way to switch between continuous autofocus and single autofocus. Man, I'm sure that there's probably a couple of ways to go about this. I tend to have modes set up on my camera on my cameras are behind me. The C modes on the dial of the last couple of generations of camera. I tend to have modes set up specifically for situations that I'm shooting in, whether it's, birding or landscape or street photography, things like that. And then I'll just flip the mode dial that way. And then the focus settings generally are geared towards whatever those environments or situations are. That's how I do it. It's probably not what you're hoping to hear. Let me dig into that a little bit and see if there's a little more elegant solution that doesn't require you flipping the dial, maybe just flipping a switch or something like that, maybe. But tonight, I just wanted to take a minute to talk about a few things that they're things that have just kind of happened recently to me, or I don't know, they're changes in what I'm doing, I guess. And we'll start off with the first thing is inspiration. It's funny. We're coming out of the tail end of winter here in Michigan, and I hate to say it, it's a pretty uninspiring season here. I mean, it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing like blanketed with snow fields or ice-covered piers or lake shores. I mean, it is definitely beautiful, but we have a lot of days that are cloudy and overcast, and we just have a lot of really cold temperatures, and it's tough to get motivated. And I'm not going to go into detail about the sources of inspiration necessarily, what's driving me lately, but let's just say that just things have happened, and I just feel motivated to go shoot more. And I just want to talk about just how critical that is, that I didn't seek out a source of inspiration. That's something that I did in the past. Sometimes things just kind of fall into your lap and inspire you to go out and just start creating. And I kind of want to just talk about the fact that inspiration isn't something that we necessarily have control over all of the time, right? Sometimes it just hits us like it did in my case. It just kind of falls in your lap. Sometimes you can seek out things to hopefully become inspired. It's funny because I've had all different kinds of things inspire me in the past. I've had new pieces of equipment inspire me. And it's funny because I think it's actually like my Twitter byline or something like that, sometimes, a new piece of gear can inspire you, not because it's a new piece of gear, but maybe because there's something within that new piece of gear that offers you possibilities that you didn't know were out there. Well, for example, things like live composite, stuff like that. They spur you to get outside of the norm for yourself and do things you might not have otherwise done. I'm watching the video feed over here out of the corner of my eye. It looks like I'm glitching a little bit. I apologize for that. Trying to broadcast from straight from an EM1 Mark II. I think I'm sucking up a lot of bandwidth here at my house. But anyways, so I guess what I'm getting at here is that start digging into things in your surroundings that maybe you can draw a little bit of inspiration from. If you're in a rut, I think one of the greatest things you can do is find something in your equipment that you just don't use, something that you've never used, and challenge yourself to get outside of the comfort zone. And I find oftentimes after talking to people that have done this, they kind of find this new source of inspiration to go out and create. It's actually one of the huge things that I hear from people who switch systems and come over to Olympus is that when they switched to Olympus, it kind of brought the fun back into photography for them. You know, sometimes it's because of the gear size. It's not quite so big and cumbersome, so they feel more inclined to go out and shoot more often. And other times it's just like what I said a moment ago. There are all these new features in this piece of equipment that they just didn't have access to before. And it just it can open some doors for you and just become a new source of inspiration. So I just want to get that message out there. Try something different in your camera. A fun thing that I've been doing lately, I haven't shared anything yet. I'm really kind of working towards developing, my skill set with it, but that's the multiple exposure. I know I've talked about Jeffrey McFeeters, who friend of the show. He's, really involved with the Olympus community. He's like a master of the multiple exposure. And Peter Baumgarten, those two just blow my mind. And then there's another gentleman, Matthew Stern. He's really well known on YouTube and the internet for doing things with all kinds of vintage lenses. And he runs a mirrorless camera website. And his multiple exposure stuff has really pushed me to want to try something new. So he also has become a source of inspiration along with Peter and Jeffrey to do stuff I don't normally do, to challenge myself to become inspired even further and try things. So that's kind of my message on that topic about being inspired is if it doesn't fall into your lap, which most of the time it doesn't, you might have to seek it out and you might have to dig a little bit and get outside of what's comfortable for yourself. And oftentimes you'll find that there's just a little spark in there that triggers something and it just kind of cascades. So just go out and do that. Try that. Another thing I wanted to talk about, and I know we've been drumming it into your guys' heads so much. We do this constantly, Mike and I do, and that's talking about workshops. I'm super excited to say that the Moab workshop filled up. I'm totally pumped on that. So thank you to everybody that signed up. And the reason I'm bringing up the fact that Moab filled up, the fact that Philadelphia not Philadelphia, we might be doing Philadelphia. The reason that Pittsburgh filled up and some of the workshops that I did last year with Mike and myself and Mark Miller up north, the reason these fill up and the reason they fill up with the people that they do is because they understand the importance of that kind of a setting. And I want to mention that a lot of the people that come on these workshops are repeat attendees. They understand the value that they get out of being with a group of like-minded people away from the day-to-day for several days, just shooting and having fun. And some of the people that come to these things that are repeats, they know enough about photography to where they could just go out on their own and completely be doing this. And they still come back to these events because they understand that they might pick up one thing, a single thing. Sometimes a single thing is really worth it. It might be that source of inspiration. You pick up that one tool that you were looking for. And so I'm putting the message out there. You don't have to come to my workshop. You don't have to come to Mike's workshop. You don't even have to go to a paid workshop. Find something local or across the country, wherever you want to go, and attend it. I know a lot of people who they're just not into the learning setting. They're stubborn. They just want to do it on their own. And I've met several people like that. I know people who come to our workshops that initially they just weren't into that scene. They thought, well, I don't know if I'll like this. I don't know if I want to be around a bunch of people all talking tech. And then once they get there, they realize that it's not like that. It just becomes this camaraderie thing. It's fun. Everybody's laughing together. Everybody's sharing in this adventure. And all the while, you're picking up these little bits and pieces of information. And oftentimes, it doesn't even register. I've had people after the fact say, I didn't even realize how much I learned until I got home. And then I turned on my camera and I was going out shooting, and I thought, well, no, I know how to do that, so I'll just do it. And then it dawns on what, pick that up at the workshop. So again, I just can't stress the importance of that enough. Just get out there and get in that setting. It's so fun. And that's why I love doing this. To me, it's one of the biggest parts of being in the visionary program. It isn't camera equipment. That's cool. Believe me, that's super cool. It's really great to have access to that. But having access to you guys is really has been life-changing for me, to be honest. It sounds really heady and just, hippy dippy or whatever, but it is. I've met so many great people all over the country, and being in this position has allowed me to do that. And I don't think I would trade that for anything. And I think if you attend a workshop, chances are the majority of people that lead workshops are going to be just like me. They're going to feel like I do. They're going to be passionate about the teaching side of things, about working with somebody and then seeing something click in their head. And I don't know who I was talking with today, but I was telling them that's the moment for me, that when I'm working with somebody and then I just see their eyes just light up just a little bit and they're like, oh, I get it. That does it for me. That's it right there. I mean, that's what it's all about. So I know I'm droning on and on about the workshop thing. Just go do it. Find something, find a meetup group local to you. Just go have fun with it. And it's funny, I'm watching the chat here, and you guys are right. I mean, all of you who have been involved with this exactly understand it. I'm going to get off on a tangent really quick because Mike Hedge noticed that I set up a secondary Instagram account with just my black and whites running on it. Thank you for noticing and appreciating that. That means a lot to me. I'll get on that in a second. Let me finish up with the workshop stuff, because I should talk about that too. I'll end the workshop talk with, okay, all the workshops are full so far, but I am putting together another workshop in the Upper Peninsula. Again, a little bit different itinerary than last year. Last year was fun. There were a few challenging moments on the workshop as far as terrain goes. It was worth it in the end. I think everybody that went would agree that the hike to Mosquito Falls was pretty rugged. It was pretty intense. It was about a 1.5 mile walk through very, very rugged terrain, but it was just stunning once we got back there. So changing up some things. I don't think Mosquito Falls will be on it necessarily, but it's going to be I think it's the last weekend in September is what I'm settling on. I'm working in conjunction with the camera store that I did last year in Muskegon, the camera shop of Muskegon. And so just kind of working with their owner to finalize the details here. But, and I talked about it on the last episode as well. I'm bringing on, it's going to be a 3-leader workshop. And I know that sounds crazy to have 3 instructors. My initial thought was that I would let up to 15 people join this, and I'm starting to backpedal on that number. It's quite a bit. I don't want to lose anybody in the fray. I don't think that would happen. I think that the people I'm going to have working with me are very competent as instructors and could handle 5 persons each. But the instructors will be Mark Miller, who has led several workshops with me already. And I know some of the people in the chat room know Mark, incredible photographer. And I also am bringing on another person this year, Jerry James. Now, some of you Olympus users probably know that name. I'm sure you've seen his name either in some magazines. Olympus has done ad campaigns with Jerry. He's a native Michigan photographer, lives on the west side of the state. It's my favorite side of the state. He's just like my brother from another mother. Super fun guy, incredible photographer. So I thought it only made sense to bring on another Michigan native to help lead this workshop in the Upper Peninsula. So the numbers, though, I think I'm going to scale it back to 12 and just keep 4 people each. That definitely keeps it very personal to be able to do that. And it gives us room to stretch out a little bit in a few of the locations that I'm working on. So again, it'll be like it was with the Moab workshop. It'll be announced on the meetup page, but then it'll be kind of pushed over to the camera store is actually going to run like an Eventbrite page. I'm letting them handle all the logistics of that. I don't want to mess with it. I've got enough on my plate this year. So just keep your eye on the meetup page. You'll get an announcement if you're a member of the Mirrorless Adventures meetup group. And again, it'll be the last weekend in September. We should be getting really good into the fall season there, and the weather should be good for us. So I'm really excited And again, like I said, the itinerary is going to be a little different than last year. There will definitely be waterfalls on this. You can't go to the Upper Peninsula and not shoot some waterfalls, but there are going to be some beautiful coastline shots as well. The cost for this workshop, I'm thinking it's going to be right around $400. We're going to run just like last year. It's going to be about a 2.5-day event. It'll definitely be worth your time. I don't think I'll secure a van for this one. I'm finding that renting a van is just really iffy on that. It's half the people don't want to ride in the van. I don't think I'm a bad driver. I think I did pretty good last year. Didn't lose anybody, but it's just kind of hit or miss on that. But it may change. I'll kind of feel out the group, and if it feels like something that makes sense, then maybe we add a van to it so that I can just chauffeur everybody around. I thought it was fun. I liked it. But in Moab, it was just too many people wanted to drive and do their own thing too, so I can respect that. So keep your eyes open for the meetup page. There'll be another workshop coming up at the end of September that'll be fun. So May is busy, and September seems to be pretty busy as well with Pittsburgh and the Upper Peninsula. Hope to see you guys in my neck of the woods up in the UP. So that's kind of the workshop and education spiel here. You know I got a little emotional, a little, hippy dippy on the teaching thing, but it really is important to me. And I think people get a lot from that. So I'm always excited to talk about that. Days. Yes, days. Is that a question, Jane, Andrew, Andy? I don't know. It's going to be several days. So Mike Hedge said, the fall workshop last October was the most fun day of shooting I had all year, despite the off weather. Thank you, Mike. It's a great compliment. It was a crazy day. So it took Mike on like a whirlwind 1-day event that I think we experienced every season Michigan has like in a day. It was pretty unique. I promise that the weather will be better in the Upper Peninsula for this one. So again, just keep your eye on the meetup page. And the next thing I want to talk about, how am I for time? Quarter after. Better stretch this one out a little bit, huh? Maybe I can get you guys to ask some questions. So the last thing is, I've got this written down in my notes here. It says gifts. Gifts. What am I talking about? So I've got a shelf full of stuff up here. It's kind of stupid to have that much stuff, and I can't use it all, obviously. I'm going to start with the low-hanging fruit first, and I think over time I'm going to work my way up to bigger and better things. But so what I want to do is I want to inspire you to create something, and not just a something. I want a series of somethings from you. This is going to be difficult to pull off because it's going to be some legwork on your end to make it happen. I want 3 images from you guys that are important to you. Something new would be great. I would really like that if you just started fresh with this. 3 images. I'll give you until the first show of June. Gives you plenty of time to get out there and shoot. Make a series of photos, something that speaks to you. For me, obviously, it seems to be that barn I can't stay away from, So for me, I would be going out and making a series of images at the barn, like different weather, different times of day, maybe a different piece of subject matter in the scene with the barn, something along the lines of that. Just whatever you want to do. 3 images, tie them together with some sort of cohesive bond, whether it's genre or color treatment, what have you. And what I want to do is I want to give away a bag. I don't know. I got this bag. The camera's reversed, so I'm pointing over the wrong shoulder. So I've got this bag here from Vanguard that they just gave me. It's pretty cool. Small bag. I'll do an image share in a little bit here maybe and show you the backpack. It's super cool. It's a nice little backpack. It's kind of like a roll top. You can open this top up here, access it from the back. It's nice. You can fit a tablet in here. I wore it out shooting last weekend with Jerry James, actually. Great little bag. I'm going to give that away, and it's not fancy, so I'm not one of those guys that can just give away like thousands and thousands of dollars worth of gear. But this has been sitting on the shelf for a little while, and it actually has dust on it, which makes me feel guilty and bad. It's old school, you guys. So this is it's an OMD EM10. I know it's not the fanciest, but it's a second camera, right? Or maybe it's a gift to somebody that that could use a camera. You're going to have to give them a lens, though. I don't have a lens to put on this right now, unfortunately, but I'll at least give you the camera, a battery, a strap, and a camera bag to put it in. And So I'm going to give that little setup here to somebody who just puts together 3 images that they kind of speak to me too. You know, they have to speak to you. And I think if they speak to you loud and clear, then it'll resonate with me as well. And you've got until the first show of June. And I'll just draw one of you guys. You're going to have to figure out how to get them to me, though. You can Facebook message them to me. You can tag them on Instagram with my name or something like that. Tag me in the photos. Just whatever you got to do. Just get them to me. I don't have a way to do this effectively. And I just want to give away some stuff. My wife probably wants me to give away some stuff. She really wants me to give away camera bags. Believe me, I've been trying. So like I said, it's not the cream of the crop camera, but it's a second body maybe. Maybe you take it and send it out and get it converted to infrared. That actually would be kind of cool. You should probably do that. I would help pay for that if you want to convert it to infrared. How about that? Seriously, I'll do that. So that was the 3 topics I wanted to do. I'm going to answer the Instagram black and white W page name. So if you look me up on Instagram, it is my, as in the initials for Michigan, MI _ other I. So MI _ other _ I. And the reasoning for that Instagram name is because the focus of that Instagram account for me is to share things that they're not what are on my normal Instagram account. The downside of Instagram is that you kind of get sucked into having, I'm doing air quotes here if you're listening, you get sucked into having to have a look and a subject matter for your images in order for your Instagram to be successful. The majority of the time, if you want to grow your account, you can't be all over the place. You can't post your pizza one day and then post a thunderstorm the next day and then post like a model the third day. You just won't grow. It's just not going to happen. People tend to follow you based on an expectation of a style and a genre for yourself. And that's kind of where I'm at with my Instagram. My Instagram, my main account does kind of bounce back and forth. I might throw a little, something here or there that doesn't quite fit all the time. Like the other week, I totally went crazy and just did urbex for an entire week and lost about 100 followers doing it. But I gained about 30 that were urbex people. And it ended up leveling out in the end. But anyways, so I'm kind of stuck in this rut of having to do the same thing all the time to keep my Instagram active and to keep it growing. I've got a goal for my Instagram this year that I'm probably never going to hit. But I do all this other stuff. I create all these different images that I really don't share. I don't share them a lot at all. And I didn't have an outlet for that because I'm sort of trapped in this place. And this goes back to that inspiration thing from the beginning. I've been inspired to share more than just the colorful landscape stuff. So that was the whole purpose of the other Instagram account, is to just share what I haven't been sharing, to show maybe to to show to other people my versatility. I'm not going to say to show it to myself. I know I can shoot more than one thing, but it just sucks to not be able to share it with people. So that's what I've been doing. And since I set it up, I'm running on 2 weeks of just straight black and white images. And I think I'll probably run with it for a while. I've got a lot of black and white images that I haven't shared. And that's probably where they'll show up for at least the next month or two until I start running out of those. And the genres and topics covered on that, there are no limits. This Instagram account, I don't care if I grow. It probably won't. It'll be you guys, and that's great. I like that. I'm never going to hit 10,000 followers on that account. Yes, there are so many downsides to Insta, Liana. I agree. It's a devil. It's like a soul sucker. I'm so hell-bent on 10,000 followers. It's killing me. Why? I don't even know. It's not going to do anything for me. It doesn't pay me. Thank you, Mike. Exactly right. EM1X question from Jeff Sweet. Man, I know you're going to give me a freaking hard one, dude. Focus point size is after moving with the joystick. I knew you guys were going to do stuff like this. Dude, I don't know. I haven't run into that. Now I've got to try to recreate your problem. It'd be cool. Message me offline and explain, or maybe you can do a video with your phone and show me exactly what you're running into. I haven't seen that issue. It's funny. I had a stupid issue today, not realizing how to turn on auto exposure lock because it was set up to back button focus, but that's just me. So John Thomas asks if I'm shooting the black and white on the other Instagram account using presets or editing images in black and white or both. It's a mix of both. So I've got some of the shots that are shared that were from New York, like in Manhattan and things like that. And those were shot, I think, with a Pen F, and those were just the monochrome presets in the pen, because that camera is just the bomb when it comes to like looks. If you haven't shot with a Pen F, I implore you to just find one and just get your hands on it and shoot with it. But half of them are going to be also done with like my own personal presets in Lightroom. So it's kind of how I'm running with those. Let's see, anything else? Jeff's just going to classify it as a bug. Hey, that works. Report it, buddy. You got contacts at Olympus. Just tell them what's going on. Yeah, so that's it. I guess I could do a quick image share. It feels weird to not do an image share. It feels weird to do an image share without Mike. I feel like greedy and selfish by doing an image share, but I'll do it. I'm pretty pumped on actually having gone out and shot lately and just being inspired to do so. It's always fun. So let me pull these up, and interested in how I'm processing the black and white photos. I would love to do that. Maybe we do a Mirrorless Minutes show the next time it's a solo run, or maybe not, or whatever. And I'll just go through my entire workflow of doing black and white. If you guys are interested in stuff like that, I'm always game for any kind of ideas like that. I love, it's like teaching, right? It's my thing. So if you want me to do that, just say the word and I would be totally pumped on doing that. So the first image here, I would, like I said just a second ago, I went out with my buddy Jerry James and his good friend and mine, Alan Smith, both a couple of West Side of Michigan guys. They came down actually to my neck of the woods, to the capital of Michigan here, Lansing, and we just walked around in the cold rain looking for stuff to shoot. And you know how it is. If you're with other photographers, I think I shot more pictures of these guys than I did of anything else. Actually, I know I did. I think I literally only took like maybe about 10 pictures, and I think 6 of them were of Jerry and Alan. So go figure. This is shot with the OMD EM1X, and I was running with the 17mm f1.2 on here. And again, it was rainy, so I wasn't bringing the Pen F on this trip, and everything had to be weather sealed. And the articulating screen on the EM1X is just, I love it for stuff like this because I can flip it out, whip the camera into portrait orientation, and have that screen laying out flat where I can see it. And that's just what I did. Jerry's just walking down this alley, checking out all this ivy growing on the brick wall, and I just got down low and fired off like 2 or 3 shots. When is the MC20 coming? Dude, I'm asking constantly. Trust me, believe me, I am. Soon. Processing treatment on this is, okay, you guys are killing me in the chat here. I need to stop reading your questions. So the processing on this was just done something in my own style, and I'm using On1 a lot lately. There's something about the way it treats the Olympus RAW files that Lightroom's just not touching. I feel this love affair with Lightroom slipping away. I thought maybe it was going to be Luminar doing that, but I think in the end, it's going to be On1. Holy smokes. With Photoshop, I'll have to keep Photoshop always to do some of the heavy lifting for cloning and things like that. So anyways, EM1X, 17mm f1.2. This is at f1.6 because I bumped the dial, and processed again in On1. And the next shot, again, it's another one of Jerry James. We're walking in front of the state capitol, and there's this big platform, and come on, he's posing. And it's literally how this goes. This is how this works, folks. You're with photographers who are like, hey, get a picture of me up here. So so Jerry jumps up there. Actually, I think I told him to get up there and stand right in the center there. So again, my own personal post-processing treatment here in On1 to generate this black and white, lift a little bit of shadow detail out of his coat. Pretty simple. This is with that's with the 12 to 40, I think, maybe. Yeah, 12 to 40, probably closer to like the 35mm range here on this one. And I did do keystone compensation for this. Not in the camera, though, because it's one of those things I forget to do. This was just done in Lightroom to kind of fix the perspective. How about that? On the buildings. Ugh. I'm not an architect photographer here. Next one is the barn. I just wanted to bring this one in just because I finally got around to doing something that I should have been doing forever, and I haven't been, and I'm changing my workflow out in the field shooting, and that is shooting focus stacked images. Now, a lot of people do these focus stacked images with numerous shots to accomplish it. I'm shooting with a wide angle lens here, the 7-14. So your depth of field is already like crazy deep. This is at like f5.6. So I didn't feel the need to have to stack a bunch of images. I think it actually turned out really well. What I did is I did one focus point was on the sheet metal from the barn in the foreground. And then the next one is focused on the barn itself. And just merging those two, literally pretty much everything from the sheet metal to the barn comes in nice and sharp. Again, on one for post-processing. I'm really in love with that. Yes, and hyperfocal distance, you're right, for sure. I'm lazy, and I'll just fire off a couple of shots and stack them in Photoshop for me. That's just kind of how I'm working with this. And again, 7-14 millimeter on the EM1X. That's just kind of my go-to camera right now, of course, because it's new. And 2 shots stacked together. And the dynamic range on this, pretty freaking happy. And I shouldn't omit this. An EC filter on there as well. It's a medium graduated ND to tone down that sky. The sun wasn't low enough to justify a reverse graduated, and the medium worked out really well because it didn't overshadow the barn too much. So really can't underscore the importance of filters. The next shot, you guys have probably all seen all these photos anyways, but I just want to talk about them. This is one of those things where it's like inspired to go shoot, don't know what to shoot, so I just jump in the car and drive. That's another way for me to be inspired on how to create, is to just get in the car, turn on some music, and just drive. And sometimes I think that the most innocuous places generate the best results. This is just an empty road. And one of the people in the chat room, Liana Halstead, this is her barn. So I kind of poached her spot to do this shot. Super fun, super cool location. Me just being, me jumping out in the photo just to give that, lonely perspective shot. Again, 7-14. It's my landscape jam with an EC filter on it. Reverse graduated. And you can kind of tell that it's reverse graduated because my jacket is really, really dark and the top of the barn is pretty dark. And you can see over on the left of the image in the trees, it's pretty dark as well as on the right. So, but it works great for the sunsets. You just can't beat that. Next one is kind of the same type of setup, just a different road, a different day, same camera setup. I'm kind of hooked on this empty, lonely road jam lately. I'm not sure why. I feel like I need to be in Nebraska or Kansas shooting some of these vignettes. It's just fun to get out at the end of the day, unwind from work, and just watch the sun go down. Nothing fancy about it. I didn't crop out telephone poles and telephone lines and power lines like I normally do. I felt like they had to be in this scene to just kind of help lead you down the road. And the last one, this was kind of fun. This is a drainage ditch that leads into a pond. It's nothing fancy. If you drove by it, you would literally probably not look twice at it. But it's all about just getting out, taking a couple of minutes out of your time, out of your day, and just seeing it for what is really there. And to do that, it just took me getting down low to the water's edge with the 7-14, again, my fave, and changing not the orientation, but changing how I composed the image. I'm a humongous fan of lots of sky in my scene. I have been forever. If you look back at some of my oldest stuff on Flickr, the same way. I'm a landscape photographer who loves portrait orientation. If you don't do that, try it, especially if you've got clouds like this. It was just a moody sky on the drive home, and I thought, man, my God, I've got to get somewhere and get some of this sky. So that's what I did. This is a bracketed shot, though, with the EM1X, so it's 3 shots at ±3 EV, and then just merged in Lightroom, and then shot out from Lightroom into On1 to crisp it up a little bit. So that's just kind of what I've been up to lately. It's nothing super fancy. It's just fun. It's just getting out and making the best of the time that I have available. Just a really busy time for me right now. But all it takes is 20 minutes driving around, 20 minutes walking, 20 minutes on the subway, 20 minutes of your day to just find something and find the beauty in it and just make a photo. That's fun. I'm going to look really quick over here at the chat room, see if there's any questions. I've been trying to not look because you guys have some crazy conversations going on. So Liana asks if I couldn't do multiple exposures to create this. I'm assuming you're talking about the barn, and that's really what it is. It's 2 exposures. One is, well, I hate to use the word exposures, but it's what it is. 2 exposures. One exposure is focused on the sheet metal in the foreground. The second exposure is focused on the barn. And you get all that depth range there by merging them in Photoshop. Liana lives like literally the next street over for me. So if she wants to learn how to do this, she can come over to my house and I can show her how to do this. Let's see. You guys are still talking about that focus point thing. So I'm just going to let you guys rock and roll with that. And I'm going to tune out here and call it a night because it is 8:35. I talked for 35 minutes all by myself. That's great. Thanks for tuning in, you guys. Don't forget, swing over to meetup.com/mirrorless adventures. That sound like a commercial? Sign up over there so you can be notified of upcoming workshops and free events. I am rocking a bunch of meetups this summer when I'm on the west side of the state. So if you're in Michigan or close enough to drive, be a part of our meetup group. And we're going to spend some evenings on the lakeshore of Lake Michigan together, and it's going to be a blast. Talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the questions, and thanks for being subscribers. Love you guys. Take care.